Whole Sports Network broadcast. You can find us on Roku TV, Amazon Fire Stick TV, Facebook, and YouTube. Get all your sports news here first. The daily podcasts are Ken and Ken in the Morning, Lions Talk with Smoking Jeremy B, Wrestling Roundup, The Big Football Show, and more, Shield TV, Lions Villain Report, and Red Zone Rant. The afternoon podcasts are Valhalla, Grosef Sports, WCFL Dolphins Talk, The Cheap Seats, The Bodkin Show, Spirit of Detroit Podcast, and MM The nightly podcasts are Hallis Hall Report, Frozen Tundra Network, Skull Gang 365, The Huddle Sports Network Open Mic, First and 10 with Foz, Main Event Football Show, Prime Sports World, The Man Cave, Prim and Proper Sports. Spitballing Podcast, Lions Fan Cave Chat, Puckett, 313 Den Podcast, The Guys Huddle, Shots from the Sideline, Let's Talk Sports, The Michigan Truth Sports Podcast, Off the Rails, NFC Northeast, Power Hours, and Detroit Lions News. Make sure you follow, like, share, subscribe, and comment. Hope you like all the shows.
Good afternoon. We got JB and Detroit Rock City Lions. It's time to turn things around. It's smoking lunchtime. If I only had some smoked pork butt to eat. Brent says, hey, Moonscar. Moonscar says, hey, Brent, why do we keep Houston if we don't play him? I don't get it. I think until he's right, they're not putting him on the field. I just what I saw at camp and everything else. It's a good question, and I can't answer that. I think they're still banking on his rookie potential that he showed with those, 7.5 sacks in 8 games. But at the same time, I do have some pictures I wanted to share from when I went to the Michigan game on Saturday. That, of course, is where you walk in to the stadium at the end zone. This was a view from our seats when we got there, when barely anyone was there yet, because we were there at 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning. And this is my brother-in-law who's headed to Montana here within a month, and he had never been at a Michigan game, and he's a Michigan alum, and I feel honored that I got to take him to his first game. Yeah, it's just my honest opinion on it. You'd have to really find out from the coaching staff what they're thinking with Houston, and I'm wondering if they're not waiting for him to get out there and show something and possibly use him as trade bait. But until he's healthy, I don't think we're going to see him on the field. I just don't think he's quite right, and I think it's more mental than anything. That's my employer, U of M. Go Michigan, yes. But the one thing I want to address is what happened after the game in Eastern Market. There was a fight that broke out. It broke up. Then the two guys went back like they were going to fight. And the gentleman from Oak Park pulled a gun, shot the other guy, and killed him, and then wounded another person who's still recovering in the hospital. Prayers up to those families that lost someone. But why are fans bringing guns to any event where it's public and alcohol is involved? Because if alcohol is involved, you're not supposed to carry your gun, even if you have the conceal and carry permit. If you have your CCP, that's one of the rules. You can't take it into grocery stores, you can't take it into churches, and you're not supposed to take it into bars. They say that for a reason. Because if alcohol is involved, it impairs your judgment. And let's face it, bad judgments were made. The guy is in custody. It happened right after the Tampa Bay versus Detroit Lions game at the tailgate in Eastern Market, Shed 6. It happened at about 4:30 in the afternoon. It was when cops responded to shots fired. It's a damn shame. I didn't hear if it was multiple Lions fans fighting. I still don't know if it was a Tampa Bay Bucks fan that was shot. There was all sorts of rumors about it, but there's been nothing concrete said in the investigation about who or what yet. The names haven't even been released. So why does it have Packer backer Rob on there? This is bothering me. I changed that before I came in. There. Let's get it right. So kudos to the police getting there early enough that they could arrest the guy. Um, I waited for local news to pick it up because I saw a report from the Daily Mail and they rarely have legit news. And then I saw another one that said Fox 8. Fox 8 isn't in Tampa or Detroit, so I didn't understand why Fox 8 was reporting it first. I waited days to see multiple valid news sources because I wanted to be given honest and fair assessment of the situation. And it's awful that it happened. That's all I got to say. But now I have to get into something that a new podcaster and a former coach said, and I think I understand what he's going for, and you guys are going to hate it. And it's less about Matt Patricia and more about Bob Quinn, and I'll explain where I'm going with this. This is what he said: the Lions are enjoying the fruits of labor from Matt Patricia. And before you say, no, we're not, and I don't think he means the entire team, he's talking about the foundation of our offensive line. Frank Ragnow was a 20th pick by Bob Quinn. 17th pick overall the first year here, Bob Quinn took Taylor Decker. Or 12th pick. I know it was in the middle. And then in the third round that year, they took Graham Glasgow. We all remember this. Those are our starting three on the whole left side of the O line, the foundation block of our offense. They are all our starters. And so I think that's where he was going with it. Because other than them, the only one left from the Quintrasha era on this roster is Jalen Reeves-Maben, current NFLPA vice president or president, whatever he is. So I think that's the validity of his statement. Our core special team player and our three starting O linemen all came out of the Quintrasha era. So it's a tiny point, but it's a valid point. While everything else that Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia turned to dust, those three guys are very key to the success of this team. And we saw last week when Graham Glasgow and Frank Ragnow had possibly the worst game of their careers. So at least I'm being honest about it. Frank Ragnow gave up 5 pressures. Graham Glasgow gave up 4. Zietler gave up none. How great of a pickup was he? And Peninsula and Decker gave up 1 pressure. Oh, so they did change it. Okay, you can take them into grocery stores. At one point, grocery stores were included in that, Fred, because of the lots of things. I'll talk about it another time with you. It's okay. But at one time, grocery stores was on the list of places you couldn't carry. So, what do we have to have Ben Johnson do to get this offense back on track? I think we all know what it is. It's becoming a run first team again. We had the third best rushing attack in the league last year with our 2 running backs combined. We're still doing well yardage-wise in compared to the NFL as a total, but it hasn't looked the same because we're not doing it as often. We are not being a run-first team to set up the pass and the play action. Jared Goff is one of the best play action passers in the league still. That goes hand down. And if we're not playing to that strength, we're not going to look the same. We're averaging 21.5 points per game through 2 games. That is not acceptable, is it? Is it acceptable to you guys? Because I don't find it acceptable at all. Last year, we were averaging almost 24 points per game. So 3 points, that's a field goal difference. And we're kicking more field goals. So we can't say it's because we're not using our field goal kicker. He's 5 for 5 now in the NFL. Let's leave it at that. And yes, I agree, midfield, using Jack Fox to flip the field works most of the time. The one time it didn't, right. It looks like he's taken this offensive genius thing and he kind of had done to the Lions this year what Sean McVay did to the Rams in 2019. But the difference is they had to overturn their entire running back room and start over that year. Whereas we have the same players that just was the third best rushing attack last year. But yes, he wants to throw the ball first, but I don't think it's conducive to winning football. Good morning, Yoli Cruz. Good to see you, young lady. I'm perplexed. And rightfully so. Winning football is a balanced attack, and we haven't been balanced yet. We're 66% pass and 33% run through 2 games. Last year, it was 45 and 55%, 45% run and 55% pass. I'm fine with being within that 10% of a perfectly balanced offense. I'm not fine with such a huge disparity between the run and the pass. Unless it was we're doing more running than passing. Because I've said it when we traded for Goff. If we're depending on Goff to throw 50 plus times a game, it's not conducive to winning football. That means we're playing behind a lot and we win away from the winning ways. And we saw that in the NFC Championship game where it wasn't Goff's fault we lost, but without a run game, we couldn't control the time of possession. The Ravens did the same thing in their AFC Championship game. They went away from the run, and they went away from it so far this year with Derrick Henry. And all of that doesn't make sense to me. It's a reason why they're 0-2, and it's the reason why we're 1-1, because that overtime, what did we do? 2 passes and all runs. Pat Rothwell joins, yes. The only difference is we actually scored a touchdown in the third quarter of the Rams game. It worked. The one time he ran a good play action after a nice run by Gibbs, we ran a play action, and he was able to hit J-Mo downfield. So other than that, it wasn't play action when he hit J-Mo downfield in the 50-yard pass this past game. So we were last year. I've talked about that. I went at nauseum about the third quarter woes of this team. And so far, I've seen little to think it's corrected yet. J-Mo's currently third in yardage in the NFL as a wide receiver. It has to be with a containment blitz. It has to be. And I'm quite sure Terrell Williams is preaching this Remember, the Titans beat the Cards last year, and they didn't have as talented as a defensive line as we do this year. So, with our more talented defensive line, the emergence of Levi playing well opposite Hutch, I think we're going to see more of that because now you got the guys that are athletic enough to get out there around the sidelines. What you have to worry about is when Reader or Aleem is out in the middle because Wingo whiffed on Baker on that touchdown run. He juked him out of his shorts. Let's face it, because he doesn't have that lateral agility. That's why he doesn't play defensive end a lot. It's why he's strictly a defensive tackle. And I said this coming into the season when we drafted him. If he had that lateral agility and the hand pump to, I haven't looked at the injury report yet. Is he injured? Let's go look at that. I'll look at it right now. So far, they haven't released the injury report. This just Goff seems to be all or nothing. We need to run the freaking ball. I can't agree with you more. So I'm gonna have to check the Lions site because they didn't do a roundup this morning like they usually do. So I'm looking to see if there's anything from Detroit on the Monday one, and there's not. Hmm. There is nobody on the Lions injury report according to them, according to the actual Detroit Lions website. So I haven't heard anything about he's questionable with the concussion, but he would have to be if does have a concussion, he has to be cleared by 1 o'clock or 4 o'clock tomorrow. So we got another day if that's the case that he's dealing with a concussion, and that's why they do that 4 day thing. You have to be 3 days cleared to play. Everybody has to be done by 3 days prior to your game time. So I haven't seen anything. So on September 15th, he was downgraded in the game. So that's why you didn't see Anzalone in the second half as much. That's why you saw more of Rodrigo and Jack Campbell and company at linebacker. If he's not able to go, we might be seeing Trevor Nowaski or Ben Neiman, one of those guys, fill his shoes. But I believe they'll probably put Malcolm Rodriguez, who has more experience at middle linebacker, next to Jack Campbell, because so far they've been using Derek Barnes as one of the backups at defensive end, who has not done bad. He's actually done very well because he's back to his natural position from college. So I will keep an eye on the Alex Anzalone situation. The other three questionables this week is Isaiah Williams, Ifeatu Melifonwu, and Marcus Davenport. So they've been upgraded from doubtful to questionable, which means all of them could play. The one I'd play with kid gloves on is Davenport. But I'll be looking more at that injury report in the morning. Because here it is, the 18th. There is not an updated one today. And there won't be till tomorrow. That's why there's probably a quiet injury report right now out of the Lions camp. So, what questions you got for me today? I pretty much nailed everything I wanted to talk about already. The shooting, it's awful. Prayers up to the family that lost somebody. Prayers up to the family who has somebody in the hospital. Uh, what Bill Belichick said and why he said it, because I had to read between the lines on that. Because I was like, wow, there's almost nobody here on the Lions roster that was from that era. There's 4 players. Everybody else is somebody Brad Holmes either signed or drafted. Oh, Tom Kennedy, I forgot. That was a UDFA fight by Bob Quinn. And how did Khalif Raymond get put so low by PFF? I'm trying to figure out why he was listed as their fifth bottom player last week. I thought he did a fine job when he was on the field receiving passes. Did he drop one that I missed? Because I don't think I missed the part of the game. Because I had it on the TV downstairs, and when I went outside for a cigarette, I had it on my phone. So I guess I'll have to wait for the afternoon edition of the NFL Roundup to get the injury news for the games that we're picking on tonight on the roundtable talks, because they haven't updated one on the NFL Network side or on the NFL.com side. Tua being put on the IR. They picked up a Tyler Huntley. That's some news. Um, Jameis Winston might start for the Browns this week. There's a lot of news out there. Hopefully they can coach out the hands issue with Terrion Arnold. He's getting handsy. Uh, so far, I expect Anzalone to play until I hear different. Because that was Sunday. We haven't heard the 4 day later report of how he tested. Because it could have been just one of those bell rung type of concussions. I didn't hear anything major on the field, but because Watson sucks. That's why. I'm just hearing grumblings. We know that Andy Dalton is starting because Bryce Young has been benched. Well deserved. I don't think their O line is as good as some people think. Or did he get another rub and tuck? I love it, Fred. That's great. But I do have another tidbit for you about the Bears. NFL Rookie Watch, which is where they talk about the movement. Many NFL scouts are reportedly starting to believe the Bears just made a horizontal movement going from Justin Fields to Caleb Williams. Some NFL scouts reportedly believe Williams' lackluster play is excusable given the amount of weapons he has, and some believe Jaden Daniels would have been the right pick for them. The Bears may start panicking soon. And that's just a report, but it is from a legit source on Twitter. So, when does the panic set in for the Bears fans? Is it starting already? I mean, he's dead last in QBR in the league. He's tied for last in touchdowns, of course, with 0, with 2 picks. Every rookie has 2 picks so far, but the only one with a win so far is Jaden Daniels. Maybe that's why they're saying that. But using a win as a stat for a QB doesn't make sense because 9 times out of 10, it isn't just a QB that wins a game, it's a team that wins the game. So I will say it's not looking good for the Bears. What say you, Lions fans? What do you want to talk about? That Mickey Mouse QB over there in Carolina, I don't see him starting another game. He's not going to get re signed. He's going to get dropped to second and then maybe float around until he figures it out. Yes, Brent DeWitt. 100%. I agree with you. Watson's not playing relaxed enough because he can't find a happy ending masseuse. I agree with that sentiment. I'm getting ready to write another article, and it's prior to my game review for this weekend. I'm going to write one doing the accolades of Aiden Hutchinson because that kid is a man possessed this year. Um, Hopefully you got your preseason bet in. Yes, I agree with that 100%. Trevor Nowoski needs to be entered into the lineup then. He has to be on the active roster till next week. Let's see what the kid has if Alex is out. I think he'd love to get back at the Cardinals. Any chance of Carolina beating the Raiders this week with Dalton? Minshew is completing 77.5%, but no run game. But that just can't be. They've all said before the draft how he's a generational QB. They are just backpedaling and finally seeing what the rest of us already knew. I agree with that sentiment as well. You know what? They played two good defenses back to back. Say what you want. Yes, Nowoski is a dog, and I think he'd want to get a little revenge on Arizona. I think it would be a good idea to put him in. Don't forget, he's a plus in pass coverage too. He led the GLIAC in college in interceptions. And as a matter of fact, he was one of the many last year in preseason when he was playing as a UDFA fighting for a spot on the roster. He had a pick and a pass defended then, last year in the preseason. I love Nowoski. I touted him and touted him. I've been praying we get to see him on the field. I think we could have used him last week. I wish he'd have been dressed. I would have dressed him over Houston. He's healthy. Because if you're not going to use Houston, why dress him? Houston did not get one snap while dressed last week. Nowoski is one of those guys that has his nose around the football type of guys. Good football IQ. And Detroit area, born and raised out of Canton High School. I said before the draft, CW will not come out and perform like some all-star right out of the gate. It doesn't happen. Just how come all these football pro talking heads say different ratings? They looked at the weapons. They looked at that defense and how they did something different for Caleb than what they did for Fields. That's why they gave him a better shot to be well. But I said all along they didn't do enough with their O-line. The O-line is whether Caleb Williams will be good or not. The football media has been so bad you can't believe a word they say anymore. I'm a part of the football media because as a podcaster, we're a talking head too. But the difference is we're looking at it from a different angle than someone who's a fan of said player or said team. If that makes sense to you, Fred. These guys nationally have to say what's fed to them. And I believe everybody fed because he won a Heisman in the 2022 year for Caleb Williams that he was going to be great. But I kept going back to Woody Frank didn't give me. Caleb will not be good. How you doing, Woody? Good to see you, brother. He's a Bears fan that's been real. He wanted Jaden Daniels. And say what you want. Fields isn't making the same mistakes he used to. Oh, I get it. I knew what you were talking. But I was just saying, don't forget, I write too, so I kind of defend some of the media. And there's other media members that weren't high on Caleb Williams. Remember, they were higher on Jaden Daniels. And I think that's why that post was made by NFL Rookie Watch. Because, and I'm going to get into that whole Heisman thing. That conference week, if you remember right, what was the Heisman voting going into conference championship week? The week where Caleb overtook it. Well, let's talk about that top five. Blake Corum was number one because he was the leading rusher in the NCAA at the time and a big reason why Michigan was winning. Hendon Hooker, who had an ACL injury in week 9, was still number 2 at that time. Number 3 was Bryce Young. Number 4 was Jaden Daniels. Number 5, it was Cameron Rising, and Caleb beat Cameron Rising heads up when they played Utah that week. And Cameron Rising had a bad game. Bryce Young had a bad game versus Georgia. LSU wasn't in a conference championship. So when all of that happened and Blake Corum breaks his leg, he won it because everybody else either played bad, didn't play, or was injured. And that's why he won the Heisman. And I'm not saying he didn't have good stats that year. He did have good stats. I'm not even being a hater. The Bears have a solid team on paper, but on paper is only so much. We Lions fans know this firsthand because I think the Bears' largest problem, number one, is mediocre O line, two, coaching. I agree. When I heard what Bill Bellichek said, I said I was laughing my ass off. He can stick a pencil in a pile of dog shit to imitate Patricia. But Brent, you weren't here, and I discussed that. It's because he's talking about the foundation of the offense is the O line, and the starting three on the left side of our O line, Brent, is Taylor Decker, drafted by Quinn, Graham Glasgow, drafted by Quinn, Frank Ragnow, drafted by Quinn, and I think that's what he's talking about. It's the only thing I can say about that. I think that's what he's alluding to is the foundation of our offense. But was it Matt Patricia? No, it was Bob Quinn. If he'd have said Bob Quinn built, I'd have been okay with it. But the fact he made it about Matt Patricia, it was kind of like touting his own coach that failed. Does that make sense what I'm saying there, Brent DeWitt? And we all said DeAndre Swift wouldn't be that great there because of that O line. And lo and behold, he has 2 yards per carry so far. He's had flashes where he's had a good breakout, but he's 2 yards per carry overall. And that's due to that O line. But I think that's why Bill Belichick said it the way it was, is to make his trash ass head coaching tree look better. Four players if you include Jalen Reeves-Maben and Tom Kennedy constantly making the team in the practice squad. That's it. That's all that's left out of the Quinn Trasha era. Everybody else is either handpicked by Brad Holmes through the draft or in free agency. Been a few days of my Lions loss hangover, Jeremy. Where were you at with predictions for the Lions? Well, when I wrote my review, and I'm going to refer back to that because I did give a best case, worst case scenario on that game. If everything goes right, Bucks 21, Lions 31. If it all goes bad, Bucks 24-21. It was 20-16. Um, so it was the all goes bad version. Let's face it. We couldn't score in the red zone because we went away from the run in the red zone. We ran the ball in one time. The rest of the time we were trying to pass it in and through penalties and screen passes that failed. If you think the RO line protects Caleb, you would be better than Fields because he can read a deep. Oh, I understand that, and I didn't say your O line's protecting him. That's not what I was getting at, Frank or Woody. Make sure you check out Woody on Hollis Howell Report too when they go live on the Huddle Sports Network. So I said run the ball early and often and let one of the best QBs at the play action pass game get established. With the secondary injuries plus the injury to Kalijah Canty, the biggest threat to our O line is Vita Vea, defensive tackle of Tampa. Limit him and the offense will flourish. Well, we did limit him, and he ended up hurt. If Tom Kennedy was a foot taller, he'd be a good wide out. Let's see. I think he's 5'7". So literally, if he was 8 inches taller, he'd be the perfect height for a guy that plays the way he does. Check us out at night tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern. I have no opinion. I'm not going to get into that one. But at the same time, I'm 9 p.m. Eastern too, so make sure they don't set it up to go into my channel there, Woody. And I won't go live into yours. That way it doesn't clash. It's funny. Yes, it is. It's for Miss Penny. 100%. You heard her yipping in the background already. She barks at anything that moves. She's just, yes, I agree, PC. I just felt like everything that could go wrong did go wrong and get it out of our system, hopefully. Um, if Alex Anzalone doesn't go, I would love to see Trevor Nowaski up in the roster as a backup, not as the starter. I'm not calling for that because I would love to see him get to take out some revenge on the Arizona Cardinals. Warning, she will tear your ankles apart. Yeah, by licking them until they're raw. She is the epitome of the little dog syndrome. Kind of like Kyler Murray and Bryce Young. These SOL fans crack me up. We're 1-1. It's time to clean house. We were 1-1 last year. We were 1-1 the year before that. We were 0-2 the year before that. So I'm not panicking. My panic level is at about a 3 or 4 out of a scale to 10. There's some changes I need to see, and it's mostly on the coaching side. It's less about, because let's face it, we had 139 rushes, 39 rushing yards, barely rushing the ball. I wanted to see them use JMO more. I wanted to see them use Gibbs more. I wanted to see them use Monty a lot more. So I seen someone say they wanted to start Hooker over Goff this week, and I was like, what the hell? And it was due to the collapsing of the interior O line, and I get it. It's alarming, but it's not that concerning because these guys normally play at a high level. So I'm not as concerned there as everybody else is right now, unless the trend continues. If the trend continues to be that Graham Glasgow and Frank Ragnow are our worst offensive linemen in games, yes, I'm going to be concerned. It's one game. Whoosah. Breathe, people. Well, I just got a message from work, so I'm going to do something a little earlier than usual. It's time for the order against our guys that we hate in the division. It's fuck the Bears. And then tied with us, it's fuck the Pack. And last but not least, leading the division, they can get skull fucked. Fuck the Vikings. Put it in the chat. Hey, Hooker is popular. Yes, they are. If they stay healthy, I wouldn't be surprised if we see the Bucks again in the playoffs. They seem to have pretty good depth. And they're leading their division tied with the New Orleans Saints. I think the Saints are actually ranked above them because their offense and defense are both doing better. Nobody saw that coming. Yes, I agree, Dale. I can't watch most of the Lions YouTuber channels anymore. Their ridiculous takes on everything lately is mind numbing. But at the same time, it is time for me to give a shout out to my sponsor. Check out Brandon's service right at the corner of South Garen Travis and West Atherton Road, 602 West Atherton Road, where Flint, where the water's shitty, but the tires are good. Stop in and check us out. Used tires starting at $40 and up. If you need new new tires, 810-233-8230. Talk to George, Red, or myself. Mention this ad, get $10 off your set of tires. Yes, I am saying they should. REALAX. Relax. But thank you for tuning in. But I have to cut the show early. I'm needed to make a phone call for work. Have a blessed day, everybody. Try every day to be a better person than you were the day before. It's the only way to make the world a better place. It starts right here. Unless you're talking